Hi there. Welcome to the one podcast where dad thinks he is totally cool and his daughter who thinks he rode on the backs of dinosaurs. It's the Lily Pod coming up next.
All right, welcome to our first podcast at Lily's Pod. How are you feeling? Are you pretty excited about this?
I'm very, very excited. I'm really excited to just talk and get to know everybody.
That's right, and get to know you and I, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cool thing about this is that I'm your dad, you're my daughter, and this is like something we've been kind of talking about and something that, you know, as you're getting older and as dad's getting older, right? You know, things change, and this is just a cool way for us to kind of connect and see what's going on, right? But also, you know, there could be some other parents out there and some other dads and daughters, right?
Yeah.
So this is a cool little thing that we're going to do here. And first, before we dive into this real quick, we do want to say thank you, right?
To everybody who's been very, very supportive. A lot of supportive comments and just overall support was very helpful to us and made us feel like this is going to be a good thing to do. We have a lot of supporters, and we just want to thank you for that.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. Like, there was definitely a lot of people that reached out to us on our social media feeds that, you know, really looking forward to, you know, to this podcast. And I know some people have reached out and saying that you're really, you know, are really going to go out there and help other people that maybe, you know, experiencing same things or doing the same things as us. And then there's also a lot of people that were really, really interested in the 90s part, the cringe part that took off on social media. So that was really cool. And I know for sure, and I wrote it down in my notes here, I know for sure the makeup episodes.
Yes, I'm very excited for the makeup episodes because I just have a ton of tricks that will make makeup so much easier for literally anybody who wants to do it. So hopefully y'all can learn from some of the tricks and tips.
That's right. And I know for the makeup part of this podcast, whenever we get to it, we're going to have some questions out there that they can ask you that maybe they need some tips on.
Yes.
And then we'll get those answered. So that's awesome. So just kind of tell me like a little bit about, you know, kind of, I know we had that awesome video. We want to, first of all, thank everyone for sharing that video. That video has now gotten us over 1,700 views, which is crazy. So thank you all for sharing that and watching that. It's really cool. But I know we talked a little bit about what we're going to talk about in the podcast. And the first episode, this podcast, we're really just going to kind of recap of what we're really going to talk about and kind of go over, right?
And who we are.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you want to go ahead and just, I mean, I know we're going to talk about the 90s, which I'm, you know, obviously super excited about, but also you're going to learn from me on the 90s, right?
Yeah.
And you're not as far away from the 90s as you think. Because I know you know some things about the 90s, even though you think I'm cringy on it.
So we're gonna do. You are.
That's right. So we're gonna do a little bit of that. And what else are we gonna do on these podcasts?
We're gonna talk about really just everyday stuff, schoolwork, being like transitioning into middle school, being in school during the pandemic, mental health. All that stuff. We'll talk about a lot of things. So everyday things on here.
That's right, because you are a COVID kid, right?
Yes.
You started kindergarten right in 2020, and I remember you going to school and then you haven't come back. So that's a huge thing, right? I mean, that's a big thing for like kids your age that have lived through kindergarten. Yeah.
It was really hard, and I think it affected a lot of people's education. I think it affected a lot of people. So I think it would be a nice topic to cover and just share my personal experience with that.
Yeah, and I'm definitely looking forward to as your dad and as a parent. I'm so looking forward to that episode to get to kind of really see what you were feeling. So I know it's definitely been not only a struggle for kids your age, but also parents out there. So that's definitely something we're going to do. So why don't you tell everyone a little bit about you, since I know, you know, we kind of talked about, you started in 2020 in kindergarten. So tell a little bit about you, and then your cringy dad will tell a little bit about myself.
So, as y'all know, my name is Lily Grace. I am in 5th grade, and I do a lot of things. Some of my hobbies are ballet, bike riding, and volleyball. I really like to do ballet as kind of to exercise, but also because it's very calming and I feel like it's one of the passions of mine. Biking is something I like to do with my friends a lot, and also something that I just enjoy because it's like I can really just get away from a lot of things. Volleyball is also very fun, but sometimes it's a little nerve-wracking because I don't really know how to serve yet, so when I'm serving, it's kind of embarrassing if I don't get it. But other than that, volleyball, I really like it. I love Stitch, the little blue monster.
You love it a lot, Stitch.
It's all over my room. It's really like an obsession of mine.
So I know you don't want me to tell all of my stuff because then that will date me as an old cringy guy. But yeah, so I mean, I do have a daytime job, a full-time job, which I love, but I also really love hanging out with you and your brother, and we'll have your brother on sometime down the road. I know we got a special podcast coming up because we did go see a concert the other night, so we'll talk about that. I love being a dad, and I love sports. I'm a big Bills fan. I'm currently wearing my Bills shirt.
Yeah.
And we are shooting this after the Bills lost, so but we are Bills Mafia. But yeah, so I really just enjoy hanging out with you and really just seeing you guys grow. And I'm super, super excited about this podcast.
Me too.
Because I just think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. And it's just going to be like a cool thing that we're going to have together. And I think that's one of the reasons why I want to do the podcast is just to have something we can get out there to help, but also just something that me and you can do and help each other learn. Is there anything that you want to get out of this podcast?
I love to help people. I'm definitely a people person. I love to help people and help them through maybe hard times or give tips, stuff like that. And I feel like that could really help with that, but also a nice thing for us to do together.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. Well, good. Well, before we dive into a little bit about what we're actually going to cover on these podcasts, I know we talked a little bit about it. We do want to say we are a thrifty, I think is the word. Maybe in the 90s it might have been, but maybe not now. But so maybe you can help me out on that. But we are a thrifty podcast. And what I mean by that is we're really just starting out budget wise and those kind of things. So clarity and what you hear on there. I mean, we don't have any mics right now or anything like that. So we are definitely a thrift podcast, but that's what's cool about it, right?
Yes.
It's because we are a thrift podcast, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll venture on later on down the road. And your dad is the editor of here as well. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So some things that we're going to talk about on the podcast and, some things that we want to make sure the podcast does is, a few things. You want to talk about maybe one of them?
Well, we're going to provide entertainment, so just a fun podcast to listen to and keep track of. And we're also going to talk about kids and how you figure out that you can relate to your parents more than you think you can.
Amen to that. And I can't wait for you to break that ground.
And then we're also going to talk about real life issues like mental health and a lot of issues that are happening in real life as we speak, and some struggles and strengths that parents and kids both go through.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We're going to look at both of that. This podcast is definitely your podcast, but we're going to look at it in the sense from a parent, from a dad. Obviously, I'm a dad, so we're going to look at some real issues that dads struggle with and moms and all parents go through. So that's one of the things that we're really going to talk about.
I get to learn about what it's like to be an adult, a parent, kind of dive deeper into more of an in-depth world of that.
Yeah. And that's awesome. That's a cool part about our podcast. But also, too, I'm your dad. I see you every day. I make your lunch. I bring you breakfast to your room. But also, I don't know what it's like to be you at your age, getting ready to go to middle school, and all the things there. So I want to definitely make sure that we take a look at what it's like to be you to be a girl growing up in sometimes this really crazy world that we're living in, right?
Mhm.
And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to feel the same way too, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. What else are we going to talk about a little bit?
We're definitely going to talk about some pop culture from my time and from my dad's time, which aren't as different as you may think they are. And we're also going to be teaching my dad some pop culture things in my world, and he'll be doing the same for me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's going to be a huge topic here, and what I'm going to do, Lily Grace, is I'm going to help you translate some of these cap stuff to my world. So this podcast is going to be so much fun because we're really going to see things from really two different views, right?
Yeah.
We're going to see things from your view and then my view.
And I can't wait to hear your view from the guy who was born in BC 3000. So.
And rode on the backs of dinosaurs?
Yeah, I can't forget about
that. Okay, very good. Well, cool. So one of the other things that we're going to talk about is, you mentioned this earlier about 90s, and we talk about the 90s because that's when I was, a kid. So so we're going to talk about 90s pop culture, all right, and how that's crossed over into your worlds and a lot of other girls and boys your age. So we are for sure going to be going down a rabbit hole of all things 90, because even if you think I was alive and had a seat next to Benjamin Franklin's, I can assure you I didn't, but I will say that I lived through the best era of pop culture ever.
We will be testing that knowledge that you definitely have with 90s trivia.
Yes.
And you will also test me on my pop culture.
Well, I think you'll know more about the 90s than you really think because of the crossover there. Well, that's good. And then I know the big one that a lot of people have already reached out to us, and we thank them again and make sure they go and subscribe to all of our socials. But I know the big one is the makeup.
Yes. The makeup is something I've had a passion for I don't even know how long, probably as long as I can remember. It is just, I don't use it to quote unquote myself prettier. I use it as art kind of.
Yeah.
I use it as just something fun to do. I don't actually need it to cover up anything.
Yeah.
But I know tips that will make it look really good, really nice and clean. But I just want to let everybody know that you don't need makeup. You're perfect the way you are.
That's right.
But makeup is something that maybe can make you feel more confident, which I think is definitely not as bad as thinking you need makeup.
Yeah, and we'll get into this. We'll dive into this because, again, people have reached out to us. A lot of people have reached out to us regarding this part of the podcast, and we have a lot of makeup podcasts that we're going to do here. But you're right. I mean, that you bring up a great point. It's not necessarily about covering up, or for you, it's just more of artistic side of things. And as a dad, I never really understood that. And we'll get more into this, but and now that I've known and how long you've been really doing that, I can totally see that this is not necessarily you're covering up anything. It's more of just
it's just more of a fun thing to do. Dressing up all fancy to go to a restaurant. Do you really need to do that? No. But is it still fun time to do that? Yes. So that's basically what I do in makeup.
That's right. And I know you do a good job. And like I said, we'll get into it. But I know you've done a lot of research and you've really done it.
Yeah.
You've done a really good job. So I know for everyone out there listening right now, I know that's going to definitely be one that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to for sure.
Yeah. We have so much to explore with this podcast and so much we want y'all to learn about us. And we also, one of those things that we want to explore is mental health.
Yeah.
As you know, it's a big part of our family's lives, and I know it's important in many other people's lives too. So we want to explore and tell our stories of things that come when it comes to mental health, and maybe it can help someone out there as well.
Yeah, that's right. Mental health is really big, and it's something that our family has been working on really, ever since that you were a little girl, So it's definitely a huge part in our lives, and I know this is one that's people have reached out to me as well about. I know, personally, people have reached out to you about this, and they're really looking forward to that part of it. You kind of sharing some of the tools you have, and so because it's a super important topic that we live with every day, just like you said, if we can just reach out to one person who can feel like we feel, right? Who may be going through, like maybe there's a dad and a mom that feels the way I feel sometimes. And just maybe that we can let them know that, hey, you're not alone, right?
Yeah.
That you can still have this awesome life and you can still navigate parenting and for kids too, right?
Yeah. If any kid ever watches our podcast or needs somebody to talk to, you can always DM me or anything.
That's right.
And I will definitely help you through it because, again, I'm always here for anybody who needs it. And let's also not forget that we're going to have special guests from all walks of life and all different topics.
Yeah, that's right. So when we were planning this podcast, we did talk about, having some special guests and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
And we both felt that would be really, really helpful.
Yes.
And so that we can get some people that may not be part of our family, but some people out there that could really, maybe have a message or, that can really help others, and they can utilize this platform to not only maybe help us, but help others, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So I am super excited about the guest there.
I'm also super excited that we're doing this and look forward to some exciting episodes to help us. Make sure that you subscribe on Spotify, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yes, and we are in the works on also coming up with another platforms.
Right, but we're going to make sure you subscribe to Spotify and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any episode. Also, don't forget to like our Facebook page, Lily's Podcast, and our Instagram page, Lily's Podcast.
Yeah, and Lily's Podcast on Instagram is all one word. That's right, yeah.
We will be posting about our upcoming episodes and just little clippets of episodes and other cool stuff that you really don't want to miss.
That's right, Lily Grace. So, make sure, again, you're out there subscribing to all of our socials because we are going to be posting a lot throughout the weeks and leading up to some of the podcasts.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in on our first podcast. Talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, that's right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Lily's Pod on Spotify. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next episode. Will be coming up soon. And make sure you check us out on the socials. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.